team, which it's just not going to be Sean McVay's year. So let's do glass half full. First of all, the Bears found a running game. All quarterbacks, especially young ones, DeAndre Swift, strong performance, catching, running. Good news. Took them forever to find it, but they found it. Secondly, Caleb Williams has increased his completion percentage in every game. He looked more poised. He looked comfortable. He had no turnovers. So that's good. They're 2-0 when he doesn't turn the ball over. And also, Matt Eberflus is a very good defensive coach. They have a top 5 third down defense. I think their red zone defense is pretty good. So the head coach knows his side of the ball. But the concern is, this is it? This is what it's going to look like offensively? Caleb Williams, every scout, every insider acknowledges people who have won Super Bowls, he's transformational. And yet we're saying, well, he wins when he doesn't turn it over. That's like Derek Carr or, a Daniel Jones stat. And that's fine. But that's not what we have here. Throwing the ball downfield just 10 yards. This isn't the Colin glass half full Colin. Throwing the ball downfield 10-plus yards. His passer rating is 28. His completion percentage is 32. It is a remedial offense. Now, hopefully they can maintain the run game. Caleb looked better. But, man, when you watch this offense, this is not what it should look like, especially when you watch Jaden Daniels with Cliff Kingsbury. It can't look like that. The Rams, we got to be honest here. No Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp, offensive lines in disarray. They got no bullets. They have no playmakers. Everything has to be a 10-play drive. You got to win that game, I guess. I didn't even trust Chicago to win the game. They did. But this week, according to reports, Jay Glazer reported this, Bears players had a meeting with the offensive coordinator and said, we're not a Pop Warner team. Now, this story now, broken by Jay Glazer, the team said, loosen it up, lighten it up, ask more of us. Here's Caleb after.
We're in a flow. Let us just stay in that flow, get going. Whether it's the run game, whether it's the pass game. If we get drives going with the pass game, sprinkling a few runs, and we get the game going with a few runs, sprinkling the pass, and then keep running the ball. So I think that was the main point of emphasis throughout the week, and obviously us just having open communication is most important.
Okay, let's talk about the world champions going for their third straight Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. So Rashee Rice, who had a tremendous first few weeks, he had clearly become a go-to number one receiver. Torn ACL. Cross your fingers, torn ACL. Bad news. That's out for the season stuff. So the Chiefs, however, have become the NFL's dad bod. It doesn't look great, but it's effective. And this is what they do. Crisis management. Nobody manages a game, a crisis, a half, an injury like the Kansas City Chiefs or a big trade. Yesterday, just think about yesterday. Fumble on the opening possession. Chargers score 7-0. Then they throw a pick on the second possession and lose their top wide receiver. And then the next 3 drives are punt on the road. And so the first 5 possessions are a fumble, a pick, lose a star player, punt. First 5 possessions. And then this is what they do. This is very New England, Belichick, Brady. They slowly creep ahead. The defense makes a play. Business as usual. Manage the crisis. Oh, we're within a touchdown. Oh, we're tied. Oh, we lead. Travis Kelce suddenly emerges. He had more yards than any receiver yesterday. So Travis Kelce, looked like Travis Kelce. Kareem Hunt signed off the street, suddenly became a playmaker. You can say what you want. We said this 2 weeks ago. It's very New England. New England has Spygate, Deflategate. Obviously, the tragedy, Aaron Hernandez, there was always something with New England, and they always figured out a way to manage it. And they should teach a course in crisis management because they've got one. The Tyreek Hill trade, that was going to end it. And they tried Tony, and he drove them nuts, and that was fine. And then Juju Smith-Schuster left, and now he's back, and it's fine. Yesterday, Chris Jones, they just rotated him all over the defensive line. Yeah, go attack that rookie. Go attack that guy. They're not rigid. You know, there is no the Patriot way. You know, you always felt a little bit with New England, there was a little bit like a way to do things, and their way to do things is to be amenable to change. No Tyreek Hill, let's change the offense. They've rebuilt their defense, their O-line twice, their receiving core is constantly in flux, and they keep hoisting the trophy. So they find comfort in crisis. It freaks most organizations out. So, and what's weird is every single Kansas City game looks the exact same. So they've won 10 straight, 9 of 10 in one-possession games. They're the opposite of the Ravens. There is no roller coaster. They're all close. They win them all. And they all kind of look the same. Some have been ugly. They often trail. They lose a player. They have to make a replacement. They get a guy off the street. It's a guy you've never heard of. This is just what they do. And that's what you can do when you have owner, GM, coach, quarterback, A+. Because crisis is inevitable in this league. We've always said this, even the good teams. New England had crisis all the time. How do you handle it? It's not college football where you're Alabama and you get a Georgia game and it's circled like 6 months ahead. Like, that's going to be the toughie. You know, I mean, like one time a year in Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State goes, well, they have even talent. It's not the way it works. In the NFL, yesterday, Buffalo got housed. Philadelphia down 24-0. Like, the margins are thin. If you don't show up, you get boxed. And so, I mean, here's Mahomes on another ugly, close win.
We weren't playing good, but I think the best thing about it is, I mean, no one talks about it, and they start to now, but our defense is a really good defense. And they know how to shut the door and keep us in football games. And then they believe that the offense is going to find a way to score enough points in the end.
So the test results are not back yet on Rashee Rice, who is having a terrific season, bumpy off season for him. So he came into the season, there was turbulence. Again, you don't want to be noisy. You don't want major holdouts, but between the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, there's always noise around the world champions who, you know, have star power everywhere. But this is what they do. And I said this 2 weeks ago, and I'll say it again. When New England was at its best, they had the best quarterback, the best coach. They had like a Scott Pioli. They had Robert Kraft. They had tremendous leadership. And New England won a lot of close games. Take out the Randy Moss years. They were not blowing people out. It was a lot of close wins. And nobody was better in crisis. And that's what the Chiefs are. Colin Wright, Colin Wrong. Coordinator yet. He could be a great position coach. Then he had his first press conference. It was brutal. But he had Shane Steichen on the staff. And then after a bad start, he let Shane run the offense. And they got to a Super Bowl. And then Shane Steichen left. And the longer Shane Steichen's away, the truth is coming out is Nick Sirianni is over his skis. I still like Jalen Hurts. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. But right now, what does he do? Does Nick call plays? No. Is he a defensive whiz? No, he's an offensive guy. Culture builder like Dan Campbell? No. Reportedly doesn't get along great with Jalen Hurts, doesn't have his trust. He's not great with the media. He's not a quarterback whisperer. You got to be great at something. Matt Eberflus can coach defense in Chicago. I know that. Even if you're struggling as a head coach, are you good on your side of the ball? They're not. Don't tell me it's roster. This is a good roster. Don't tell me it's the owner. Don't tell me it's the GM. Philadelphia is one of the better-run organizations. They're also impatient. They don't sit around and wait. They moved off Doug Peterson. They moved off Chip Kelly, had a winning record. They moved off Carson Wentz after a big contract. But don't blame the players. I don't want to hear about A.J. Brown's injury. This team doesn't do anything well. What I watched yesterday in the first half, I've ever in my life seen a roster and a quarterback that talented not only trail 24-0. Forget the fact they trailed. I mean, good teams, Buffalo, have bad nights. At one point, Tampa had 254 yards. Philadelphia had 0. They did nothing well. And again, Buffalo last night in the first half, you know, getting run out of the building. It happens a lot in Baltimore against Lamar Jackson. It happens in those night games. This was an afternoon game against Tampa, a team that had gotten pushed around the previous 2 weeks, and it wasn't competitive. The body language was bad. And yes, it's been an underdog year. The NFL, I mean, the Washington Commanders, what the hell's going on? There are surprises all the time, but that was beyond a surprise. That was a football team that looked absolutely unprepared with really good players all over the place. So I think it took them second quarter to get past midfield. And again, who are you going to